All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you all are having a good morning. I had a request come in, and that was to react to a non-stop video called How Good Was Larry Bird Actually? And y'all know Bird's on my top 5, so I absolutely will react to this video, and I'm gonna enjoy every second of it. So as usual, I'm gonna link the original video down below in the description if you want to watch it without my commentary. Everybody else, if you do me a favor, leave me a like, and that'll help push this video out so we get the truth about just how damn good Larry Bird really was out there. So we've covered Bird quite a few times already, but I feel like we've just scratched the surface. So after this one, I'm gonna start searching for some like deep dive stuff, like individual stories about Larry just being an absolute savage, because those are some of my favorite stories. But let's see what Nonstop has in stock for us. Yeah, let's do this.
Larry Bird was one of the best players to ever touch a basketball, and together with Magic Johnson, the biggest NBA star of the 80s. What made him so successful considering he was quite unathletic? And how would he fare in today's NBA? Did he win just because his teams were loaded? And where does he stand among the best shooters of all time? Watch the rest of the video to find out. A hick from French Lick. Bird was born into a poor family in French Lick, Indiana, a town of 2,000 inhabitants. Larry grew up a shy, introverted kid who didn't talk much, and he did most of his talking on the basketball court.
Yeah.
He grew up to 6'9" and played at small forward. But with his understanding of basketball, he could play whatever position he wanted. Larry finished his high school career as the best scorer in school's history, and he could choose where he wanted to go to college. He started playing for Bobby Knight at Indiana University, but didn't like the spotlight and being around so many people. He then settled at Indiana State University, where the pressure was much less than with the Hoosiers. Larry averaged 30.3 points, 13.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists in.
First off, that's savage, but also ironic that he didn't like the spotlight, but then he ended up being drafted to the most winning organization in basketball history at the time. But damn, man, look at those numbers. 30.3, 13.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists. And there are people who still to this day don't think that Larry Bird was a good rebounder or a good passer. And they just think he's a shooter. It's ridiculous to me.
In college, the Sycamores were invincible in Bird's senior year and became the #1 team in the country with a 33-win streak. Their only loss came in the 1979 NCAA Finals, where they played against Michigan State, led by senior guard Urban Johnson. Despite 19 points from Bird, Magic and his teammates celebrated the title in what was the most watched college basketball game in history at the time.
I didn't know they were undefeated leading up to that. And by the way, Bird still says to this day he played like crap that day. He regrets it to this day.
Bird was named the Collegiate Player of the Year, leaving Indiana State as the 5th-ranked NCAA scorer of all time. He was already drafted, as the Boston Celtics selected him in the NBA draft in 1978, hoping that Bird, who qualified for the NBA as a junior, would skip his senior year. He opted to stay in Indiana, and when he finally arrived in Boston, the Celtics looked nothing like their championship selves, with consecutive losing seasons. Bird then single-handedly caused the biggest turnaround ever seen in the NBA at the time. Boston improved their record from the season before by 32 wins.
Damn.
And finished with 61 wins and 21 losses. Although his arch-rival Magic Johnson had an impressive season and won the title with the Lakers, Bird was named the Rookie of the Year with the average of 21.3 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists.
Yeah, and that Rookie of the Year really pissed Magic off too. The rivalry was real.
He made the All-Star team and first-team All-NBA, and even finished 4th in the MVP voting, and proved he could transform a mediocre team into a great one all by himself. A new green dynasty. After Bird's rookie year, the Celtics had a busy offseason. Legendary Red Auerbach worked his magic and brought 2 new faces to Boston that would form one of the biggest dynasties in NBA history. Auerbach robbed Golden State by sending them the 1st and 13th pick in the 1980 draft in exchange for center Robert Parrish and the 3rd pick, which became Kevin McHale. Along with the newly formed Big Three, the Celtics also had an all-star point guard, Nate Tiny Archibald, young and athletic forward Cedric Maxwell, and a few well-integrated role players that made the team complete. The head of the snake was, of course, Larry Bird, who was second in MVP voting, en route to a league-leading 62-20 record. The Celtics avenged the loss to the Sixers from the previous year, and after a tough 7-game series in the Eastern Finals, they were in the NBA Finals once again. There they would be met by the Houston Rockets, led by prime Moses Malone, who was arguably the best center in the league at the time.
Yeah, talk about a guy who does not get enough praise or respect. Moses Malone. Time forgot about him, and I have no idea why.
Malone averaged 23 and 16 in the series, but the Celtics were too good of a team and would win the title with 4-2. Bird averaged 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists for the series.
Nice.
But the finals MVP went to Cedric Maxwell, who led the Celtics in scoring with 18 points per game.
Holy crap, I just learned something. I did not know Cedric got the MVP.
When everybody already saw the new Green Dynasty, 2 bad years ensued.
So he outscored Bird by 3 points, but I mean, I think Bird's numbers were pretty damn impressive.
And when everybody already saw the new Green Dynasty, 2 bad years ensued. Despite Bird's all-around excellence and McHale's improvement, they once again were the #1 seed in the East. Bird was the All-Star Game MVP, but Philadelphia retaliated for a close defeat in the Eastern Finals. And this time, they won in 7 games. The year after, the Celtics regressed even more, finishing as a 3rd seed and getting swept in the 2nd round by the Milwaukee Bucks. After that, Coach Bill Fitch resigned and was replaced by Casey Jones, who won 8 titles in the Bill Russell era as a player. The change bore fruit. The team was refreshed with the young shooter Danny Ainge and veteran point guard Dennis Johnson, and played the best basketball in the NBA, finishing with a 62-20 record.
Yeah, DJ was a beast. Another guy who goes pretty uncredited.
After 3 years of coming in second, Larry Bird finally won the regular season MVP with 24.2 points, 10.1 rebounds, and 6.6 assists on average.
Beautiful numbers.
The Celtics steamrolled to the finals, where a known foe awaited. It was, of course, Magic and the Lakers.
Yep, payback time.
The title was decided in Game 7, where Larry Bird led the Celtics to their 15th NBA title. Bird was named the Finals MVP, and he finally had his revenge over Magic, who defeated him in the NCAA Finals of 1979.
And of course it goes Game 7. I wish I could say I'm old enough to have watched that Game 7, but that would be a lie. But I've seen coverage on it 1,000 times, but man, I wish I could have seen that.
The following season, the Celtics were even better in the regular season. Bird repeated as MVP, and McHale repeated as the 6th man of the year. They got to the finals again, with the same opponent. After the Celtics won Game 1, 148-114, in a game that was dubbed the Memorial Day Massacre, it seemed like the Celtics were going to dominate the Lakers and repeat as champions. However, the Lakers had other plans, and especially Kareem was determined to defeat the Celtics. Kareem averaged 25.7 points, 9 rebounds, and 5.2 assists in 6 games.
Solid.
On 60% shooting. And the Lakers have finally won the NBA Finals against the Celtics for the first time in 9 tries. 1986, the greatest Celtics team ever and the pinnacle of Bird's career. After the finals loss, Auerbach made another clever move. He traded Cedric Maxwell to the Clippers for Bill Walton, once one of the most talented centers in the league, who accepted the role of a 6th man on the Celtics, while Kevin McHale moved to the starting lineup. The Celtics won 50 out of 51 home games that year, which is a record that still stands and likely will never be broken. Larry Bird experienced the absolute peak of his game and basketball brilliance in 85-86. He deservedly won another MVP and became the only player other than Wilt and Bill Russell to win the award in 3 straight seasons.
That's still crazy. They never let that happen anymore, even if it's deserved. But 3 straight. Talk about dominating.
85-86 season birthed several games that proved the endless basketball genius of Larry Bird, and most notable is the left-handed game. Before the game against Portland, Bird surprised his teammates and journalists by saying that he would shoot the whole game with his left hand because he wanted to motivate himself for a relatively meaningless regular season game. How much
Are you guys hearing this? This is so funny, man.
did he score? Just 47 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists with a game-winning shot, and 22 points scored with his left hand out of sheer boredom and fun. And those are the reasons why he was called Larry Legend. Apart from that, he also...
Imagine being that dominant that you have to literally switch hands for a game just to make shit interesting. That's Larry Bird, y'all.
scored a career-high 60 points on the Atlanta Hawks earlier in the season. Almost everything he put up toward the basket went in, and he got into such a zone that the Hawks bench jumped off their chairs and cheered, after which they received hefty penalties from the Hawks coach, Mike Fratello. Throughout the game, the commentator noted that what he was watching was the biggest shooting exhibition in basketball history, and at the time, it truly was.
Look at it again. Oh, man.
It was the biggest shooting exhibition in basketball history.
Look at these guys.
At the time, it truly was. The Celtics won 67 games in the regular season and lost just one game in the playoffs on their way to the finals.
Insane.
There, they would be greeted by the Twin Towers of Houston, Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon, who defeated the Lakers in the West Finals. But nobody could touch the Celtics that season, who were one of the most talented teams ever assembled. Bird was 2 rebounds and 3 assists shy of averaging a triple-double in the finals, and he deservedly won his second Finals MVP. Final years, injuries, and the Dream Team. In 1987, the Celtics had a very difficult season. Their number 2 pick, Len Bias, tragically passed away after the draft, and they suffered many injuries during the season and the playoffs. But Larry Bird was too good, and they still advanced to the finals.
For all those who don't know, Len Bias was being touted as the next Jordan, or like a Jordan killer. You know, like he was supposed to be better than Jordan, but I believe it was a cocaine addiction that he had. Sounds about right for the 80s anyways, but I think that's what it was. I think he had a heart attack, so he never actually got to play an NBA game.
2 7-game series against the Bucks and the Bad Boy Pistons, where Bird made one of the most legendary plays and stole the inbounds pass from Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, there's a steal by Bird. Bird down to DJ. DJ lays it in. Oh!
On a crucial Game 5 for the Celtics. And in the finals again, it was the Lakers for the 3rd time in 4 years. Because LA was much more rested coming to the finals, the Celtics did not have enough gas in the tank to stop the fast-paced showtime. Bird delivered another 24, 10, and 5 for the series, but it wasn't good enough.
Wait,
Magic
what was that?
Delivered another 24, 10, and 5 for the series.
I thought he said 44 for a second. I was like, holy shit.
But it wasn't good enough, and Magic got the best of him once again. Next year, Bird had maybe one of the best statistical years of his career. He averaged 30 points on 50, 40, and 90 shooting, a feat he achieved the previous year as well, proving that he's the best shooter who ever played at the time. The Celtics reached the conference finals, but it would be their last hurrah as the Pistons finally got over the hump and managed to beat them. In the offseason, Bird sustained a severe back injury from chopping wood back home in Indiana.
By the way, I just want to point one thing out real quick. This is how you're supposed to congratulate the winner. Okay? That's how you're supposed to do it. You actually congratulate them. And, Pistons did not repay that to the Bulls when it was their time to be the bigger man.
Finals, but it would be their last hurrah as the Pistons finally got over the hump and managed to beat them. In the offseason, Bird sustained a severe back injury from chopping wood back home in Indiana. He was one of the best basketball players in the world who had millions of dollars, but he was still the hick from French Lick, who chopped his own wood when he needed to, and I respect him even more for that. The back injury and surgery
wasn't he helping out his mom or something like that? Like chopping wood for his mom? It's like one of the craziest things that one of the greatest basketball players of all time, his career basically came to a halt because he was chopping wood for one of his family members. I'm pretty sure it's his mom, though. And it was never the same. His back was never the same. It's funny how these injuries work. Like, you could take a bad step, make one wrong movement, and your life is changed forever.
Both Achilles tendons caused him to miss almost the entire 88-89 season. However, even debilitated, Bird was better than most players in the league, and despite needing to stretch for more than 2 hours to be able to run, he was still very productive. He was named an All-Star each of the last 3 seasons, along with some memorable performances, like a game in the 1991 playoffs where he suffered a concussion, but then pulled a Willis Reed and came back to the game, scored 17 points in the second half, and won the series for the Celtics. Unfortunately,
the
toll on his body was getting too much to bear, and he ended his career in 1992, when he finally became teammates with his good friend Magic Johnson on the Dream Team. Bird flew off into the sunset with the gold in Barcelona, retiring as the best small forward and the best shooter to ever play. Legacy. Trash-talking god, top 10 player ever. One of the most famous Larry Bird trash-talking stories is from the 1986 three-point shooting contest when the legend walked into the locker room and asked all the other participants who's coming in second after him.
Yep.
Of course, he went on and swished near every three-pointer and won, all without taking his jacket off. Bird would win the three-point shooting competition the next 2 years as well.
The fact that he kept the warm-up jacket on just adds insult to injury. It's so classic. It's like one of those just quiet. He's not even saying a word while he's doing it, but just that action alone is just talking. It's him talking trash to everybody, just saying, "Yeah, I'm better. I'm better than you, and I'm about to prove it." This is how easy this is for me.
Before Reggie Miller came along, there was no argument who's the best shooter ever. On the 26th of December, 1990, Indiana's Chuck the Rifleman Person said he's going bird hunting before the Celtics game. Bird replied that he'd got a Christmas present for him, and while Chuck was on the bench, Bird got the ball in the corner just in front of the Pacers bench. He hit the jump shot, turned to Chuck, and said Merry effing Christmas. That's who Larry Bird was, and how he talked. He was the ultimate competitor, and he had all the skills in the world to back it up. He'd tell players where he would get the ball, what he was going to do, and then do it. And there was nothing they could do to stop him. He accused the opposing team of putting a white guy to guard him because he felt that was disrespectful.
Yeah.
If you watch Space Jam, you know that Larry isn't white. He's clear. Bird would drink
Yeah,
half
that's
the
so
ball
true. I forgot about that. It's like Larry Bird ain't white. He's clear.
bar under the table. Sometimes he'd fight people in the bar as
Luminous.
well, and then go to the game the next day and dominate as if nothing happened. Bird was a unique player, and there was nobody like him. At first glance, his moves look almost clumsy,
Yeah.
far from physically dominant or athletic. He rarely dunked. His vertical was average at best, and he never played exceptionally fast. From the neck down, in basketball terms, he was nothing special. From the neck up until the end of his fingertips, he was pure genius.
Yep.
There's no doubt that he would be a great player in today's era, where we can see players like Doncic and Jokic dominate the game without great physical talent. Bird was one of the top 10 players who ever played.
Hey, Dirk as well. Dirk looks like a fumbling, bumbling, clumsy dude. But yeah, so does Jokic. They have that in common. They look so clumsy, and so did Bird. But man, did they produce. They knew exactly what they were doing. Drunken masters, man.
And one of the best pure shooters ever. He was the best player in the NBA for almost an entire decade, despite the brilliance from Magic and the athleticism of Michael Jordan. And like Magic Johnson said, there will never be another Larry Bird.
Agreed. Good video. Hey guys, shoot out in the comments anything you want to suggest as far as Larry Bird goes. Any of his trash talking stories or anything like that. Like shoot some links down below. I'd appreciate it. I really enjoy covering Larry Bird. So, and a lot of people have him misunderstood. They have him as just a shooter and nothing else. They have no idea how much he hustled, even with a broken back, like a bad back. The guy's still diving on the floor to catch balls. He's boxing out every possession, rebounding. And his passing game was just insanity. Plus, he would drive to the basket and just absorb that contact like it was nothing. It was just a tough as nails player. But yeah, shoot some stuff down below. Anything you want me to check out and react to? Yeah, there's not much else to say. Larry Legend, man. He's in my top 5. Is he in your top 5? If he's not, why not? Tell me why. All right, everybody. That's it for this morning. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you tonight for the After Dark episode, all right? Subscribe if you want more. Like the video if you want to push this out. All right. Peace out, everybody.